So, if you're in the thick of CFA Level 1, you know quantitative methods can be a real beast. And sampling, that's a topic that trips up so many people. Today, we're going to break it all down, not just what the methods are, but more importantly, when to use them. Plus, we'll even look at how some modern tools can help you nail these concepts for exam day. Let's jump right in. Okay, so let's set the scene. You've got two friends, Ashok and Amit, buried in books at their college library. And Ashok says something I bet you've felt too. It's that nagging feeling. It's not just about memorizing definitions, right? It's about knowing which tool to pull out of the toolbox for the right job. And that's exactly the problem we're here to solve today. You know, at its heart, sampling is really all about being smart and efficient. I mean, who has the time to analyze all 1,000 stocks in a huge portfolio? Nobody. So instead, we pick a smaller, more manageable group. The whole idea is that this little group, this sample, should tell us something meaningful about the entire population. It's kind of like tasting one spoonful of soup to know if the whole pot is seasoned correctly. It's how we make educated guesses without doing all the work. First up, we've got the most basic one, simple random sampling. And it's exactly what it sounds like. Every single item in your big group has the exact same equal chance of being picked. It's totally fair, like drawing names out of a hat. Now, this is great for being unbiased, but here's the catch. For huge financial data sets, you could get unlucky and accidentally miss an entire category of stocks just by pure chance. Next, we have systematic sampling, which adds a little bit of order to the chaos. Here, you pick a random starting spot, and then you grab every kth item. So maybe you pick every 10th stock from a list that's sorted alphabetically. It feels more organized, right? But you've got to be careful. Imagine you're sampling daily retail sales, and you decide to sample every 7th day. Well, you might end up only ever looking at data from Mondays. That would give you a ridiculously biased result. So you have to be sure there isn't some hidden pattern in your list. Okay, listen up, because this one is a huge deal on the exam. Stratified sampling. It's a two-step dance. First, you slice up your population into different groups, or strata, and these groups can't overlap. Think large cap, mid cap, and small cap stocks. Then, step 2, you do a simple random sample inside each of those groups. The key takeaway here, this method guarantees that you get a little bit of everything. You're making sure every category is represented. And that brings us to its cousin, the one everyone gets it confused with, cluster sampling. You also start by dividing the population into groups or clusters, but, and this is the absolute key difference, you then randomly pick entire clusters to be your sample. So instead of picking a few stocks from every sector, you might randomly pick the whole tech sector and the whole pharma sector, and then analyze every single stock inside just those two. So let's put this side by side because this is a classic exam trap. The difference really boils down to your goal. If a question uses words like ensure representation from all subgroups, your brain should immediately scream stratified. But if it talks about saving money or practical things like geographical areas, it's almost certainly pointing you towards cluster sampling. Just remember this, stratified samples from every group, cluster samples entire groups. All right, time to put it to the test. Let's say you're an analyst, and you're staring at this massive 1,000 stock portfolio. Your boss wants the average return, but they're very clear you have to make sure all types of stocks are properly included in your analysis. So, based on what we just talked about, which method are you going to choose? If you said stratified sampling, you are 100% correct. And why? Because of that magic phrase, ensure all categories are represented. That's your signal. Stratified sampling is the only one that forces you to dip your bucket into the large cap pool, the mid cap pool, and the small cap pool. It gives you the most complete and accurate picture of that whole portfolio. Okay, let's roll up our sleeves and actually crunch some numbers. Let's say we've pulled our sample, and these are the 5 stock returns we got. The CFA exam is absolutely going to expect you to be able to take a small sample like this and calculate the key stats. So how do we find the sample mean and the sample standard deviation? Well, you can whip this out in Excel in no time. The sample mean, that's just the average function. Easy enough. It gives us 10%. Now for standard deviation, this is super important. You have to use the sample formula. In Excel, that's stdev.s. Do not use stdev.p, which is for the whole population. That is a classic exam trick. Using the right one, stdev.s, gives us about 3.87%. You've got to have these calculations down cold. And here's where our little story gets interesting. Ashok, seeing the manual work, asks a very modern question. Hey, can't an AI just do this for us?
And the answer is a big, loud yes. Using tools like Microsoft Copilot while you're studying can honestly be a game changer. But here's the secret. It's all about asking the right question. Look at this prompt. We're not just asking for the numbers. We're asking it to explain and recommend. This is how you use AI to get smarter, not just to get a quick answer. A great prompt always mixes calculation with a request for conceptual understanding. And that's the real power here. You don't just get a number spit back at you. A tool like this can explain the why. It can tell you exactly why stratified sampling is the best move in this situation. It can even give you the exact Excel formulas to use. It's basically like having a personal tutor on call 24/7. But, and I need you to listen to this, here comes the most important piece of advice of all. Think of these AI tools as your training wheels. They are there to help you learn, to help you balance. They are not the bike itself. Use them to check your work, to build your intuition, but always remember, when you walk into that exam room, Copilot isn't coming with you. It's all on you.
So let's do one last super quick recap. Ready? Simple random, equal chance for everybody. Systematic, picking at a fixed interval. Stratified, your go-to for representation. And cluster, grabbing entire random groups. If you can get those 4 core ideas locked in, you are in really, really good shape. All right, we've gone through the concepts. We've talked about the tools. Now let's get tactical. Let's talk about how you turn all this knowledge into actual points on exam day. This is your playbook. Let's run through these pro tips. 1. Focus on application. The exam will give you a story and ask you to pick the right tool. 2. Understand, don't just memorize, especially the difference between stratified and cluster. 3. Practice the numericals. Calculating sample mean and standard deviation should be automatic. 4. Use your tools smartly. Use Copilot to come up with new practice questions for you. 5. Always be on the hunt for bias. The exam loves to ask how a sample could be misleading. And finally, number 6. Don't forget to review the basic definitions. They are often the key to some easy points. And that really brings us back to the most important lesson from our story. Amit's advice is the real theme here. You don't pass the CFA exam by cramming 1,000 formulas. You pass by truly understanding the core ideas and knowing how to apply them in the real world. So, I'm going to leave you with a challenge. You've got the theory, you've got the application, you know about the tools. So pick an index or a portfolio that you actually follow. Ask yourself, which sampling method would give me the best, most accurate snapshot of its performance, and more importantly, why? When you can answer that, that's when you know you've really got it. Thanks for joining me, and seriously, good luck with your studies.